All right, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to learn about reinterpretations of German augmented six chords. They have this really special quality, and so I'm going to show you how that works in 4 parts today. And let me start by playing this normal resolution of a German augmented six chord to 5 to 1 in C major. Now you might have noticed the way that the German augmented six chord sounds is familiar when you just hear it out of context. You might notice that that actually sounds like a dominant seventh chord, and that's because it is a dominant seventh chord, just spelled differently. So if we change the spelling and spell it as a dominant seventh chord, we can resolve it differently. Remember when we talk about enharmonic spellings, we're saying that there's 2 ways to spell the same thing. So here, I'd still have the exact same pitches, but I'm going to spell them, one of them differently. I've got A flat and C. I've got E flat. And instead of F sharp, I'm going to spell that as G flat. And let me ask you, while you're looking at that, what key would you have to be in for that to be the 5-7 chord? Well, if A flat is the root of the 7th chord, A flat is 5 in that case, then that means you're actually in D flat major, right? In which case, this isn't a German augmented 6 chord anymore. It's a 5-7 chord. And it can resolve simply to 1 with a whole bunch of flats. We could actually move this tenor down to an A flat, right? Like that. So the same chord. Can resolve in these 2 different ways depending on its spelling, and composers take advantage of this by using it to modulate to keys that are not closely related at all. So you could modulate from C major to D flat major, just like that. So there's a 1 for that. So we'll look at progressions where you modulate using a German augmented 6 chord as the pivot chord, because you can know how it would be spelled in the other key and respell it to make it work. So let's just practice the spelling first, because I think this helps illustrate what the concept actually is. So let's start in E minor and let's spell a German augmented 6 chord. So in E minor, we would have, here's our flat 6, or our 6th scale degree. Let's use a different voicing than the one I had up there. So we'll put 3 there. We'll put 1 in the alto, and we'll put sharp 4 in the soprano. So to play it, it sounds like this. Let's resolve it, or let's not resolve it actually, we're just practicing spelling. So here, I'll put a label on it. German augmented 6. Let's spell the same chord as though it is 5 of something, 5-7 of something, in which case all you have to do is change the spelling of 1 pitch. A sharp is enharmonically the same as B flat. Now, what does it look like it's 5 of? Well, if C is 5, then 1 would be F major. So in this case, this one is actually 5-7 in F. So that's different. That's the key that you could modulate to. And again, notice that that's a half step away. So we tend to modulate to places a half step away when we modulate using this chord as our pivot chord. Let's do the same thing one more time just for practice. In G major, oh, but here, let's go backwards. So let's spell 5-7 in G major and then see where we could modulate to if we respell it. So in G major, 5-7 has D in the bass. And let's say we spell, we haven't done with this voicing yet. Okay. So let's see. In the previous examples, the note that gets spelled differently is this seventh of the chord, right? Notice that the same thing is true over here. It's the seventh of the chord that gets spelled differently. So here's the seventh of the chord. And let's note that this is 5-7 in this key. If I spelled it differently, remember I'm going to keep everything the same except for that one pitch. How could I spell that enharmonically differently? It's the seventh of this chord. In the augmented 6 chords each time, it was sharp 4 that got changed. So there's sharp 4, etc. In which case, instead of C, we could spell this enharmonically as B sharp. And I wonder if, okay, I was just going to say, what if I change this to a half note? Okay, then let's resolve it actually. So 5-7 in the key of G major, if we respell it, becomes an augmented 6 chord, a German augmented 6 chord. And in what key could this be a German augmented 6 chord? So in which key is this sharp 4, is this flat 6? And that means that 1 is also in this chord somewhere. Well, if D natural is flat 6, then it would need to resolve down, it would need to resolve down to 5 by step, half step, right? That means that's flat 6, and that means this is 5. And if this is 5, that means we're going to F sharp as 1. And let's assume that we're going to a minor key because they are more common in minor keys. So there's that. Let me also just note that we're going to F sharp minor. Like that. And so the same chord is now going to resolve differently. So in G major, if we weren't doing any of this respelling at all, here's how it would sound. And you can imagine it resolving. Or something like that. And then if we respell it, it would respell to a C sharp. Oh, excuse me, not 1. It would resolve to 5 in the key of F sharp minor. Let's resolve it then. And we could even make that 5-7 if we want to. Either way. No, let's just make it regular 5. Flat 6 goes down to 5. Sharp 4 goes up to 5. And then you're going to have to use so many accidentals now to get 5. We're going to need C sharp, E sharp, and G sharp. You can see how this would easily go to a cadential chord though, because a cadential 6/4 chord, because this is already here and you could just leave it. So there's how we would resolve that F sharp minor chord so there's how we would resolve this 5-7 if we turned it into a German augmented 6 chord, and now we're moving into a new key with it. So let's look over here where I've got just a little longer progression to put it in some context for you. I've done the first 3 chords, and we're going to start with that 5/7 chord and reinterpret it into a German augmented 6 chord. So let's start by looking at the Roman numerals for the rest of this. If this chord were respelled, then that means that what was the root is now flat 6. And you can tell just by looking at it what key it's probably going to. That it's probably going to wherever this is cadencing. That looks like D major. So when we modulate, when we write modulations, I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to put another label here. But this is our German augmented 6th. So that they're both represented, and then we kind of go on from there. If you have a different software and you want to like draw a box around them, that's kind of the traditional notation for this. Let's start by let's just dive right in and voice this chord. So let's do a nice wide spacing since the bass is moving up. Okay. Okay. So from 1 to 4, notice that we're going to keep the tenor the same and move everybody else up by step. That's fine. And then to 5/7. Oh, which is a whole note. Those two have to skip down. That's okay. Bass is going up. There's not a 5th here, so it's okay that I moved these down. Okay, so anyway, this is 5/7. I'm not actually going to change the spelling. I could just proceed. Like sometimes composers will spell it more in the old way. But so now what if I do change the spelling? What if instead of A flat, what could I do to make this sharp 4 in the new key? You can probably tell that to make it sharp 4 in the new key, I would need to, instead of A flat, I would change this to G sharp. And then I'm going to resolve it and continue on with the progression. And I didn't give you Roman numerals for this, although I think you could probably come up with some on your own. So this is going to be 5/7 in the new key, or 5 in the new key. Let's just go with 5. I'm keeping this progression relatively simple, other than the moments where we had that kind of very chromatic modulation. 5 and to 1. So let's go ahead, and you could harmonize this differently, but let's go ahead and finish it out just for practice. In the new key, keep in mind that then we're going to have to add some naturals to things. Accidentals are now your friend. You have to make sure that you have them all the time, because D major has a really different key signature, right, than E flat major. We need an F sharp somewhere. It was in the alto already, so let's keep it there. Oops, what am I doing? We need a C sharp somewhere. Looks like we could move there pretty easily in the tenor. We need an E natural. We can put that right here in the alto, moving by step. We can then move to 1/6. Oops. Right. And to 4 or 2/6. You could do it either way. B is natural, keep that in mind. And then back to 5 in the new key. And back to 1 in the new key again, lots of naturals. That needs a natural. Come on now. There we go. That D also needs a natural. That A also needs a natural. And then F sharp. So many accidentals to watch out for. Let me play this for you though, because I think it's going to sound really different, really chromatic. So here's E flat. Once again. 5-7, then it's going to resolve differently. And here's where we started. Once again. You can just imagine that 5-7 resolving there. So I'll ask you sometimes to practice that on your own, just practicing the spelling, practicing resolutions for them, because these chords have so much interesting potential for chromatic modulation. And in the next video, I will show this to you in context with analysis. Bye for now.